Most people on the internet place their holiday greetings at the end of the video. I'm gonna do it now. Merry Christmas. Notice I haven't said Happy Holidays. That's because liberals have stolen Christmas because it's not on Starbucks cups or other areas of marketing. Everything's been overridden by Happy Holidays. Nah, I'm just kidding. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I never understood the ridiculous concerns of Happy Holidays being wished as often as Merry Christmas. People celebrate different cultures all around the world. Likewise, Happy Holidays will be heard frequently as a result. Nothing wrong with that at all. And the fact that Happy Holidays is placed around stores and marketing campaigns is because of capitalism, which is what conservatives propose to continue establishing. I'm extending this video for two reasons. One, even though I didn't have much to say, I felt obligated to talk about this because I hear about it year after year. The second is so the video would be at an appropriate length. And third, today's New Year's Eve as of writing this anyway. Of course, we all believe 2019 sucked. There were moments in every month that made it suck hard. In January, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez danced, and no one cared despite what left-wing outraged Salavists tell you.
Uncle Tomahawk!
That's right. That's right.
Bunch of Uncle Tomahawks!
Right.
Cause you're Uncle Tomahawk!
That's right.
There's the Covington Catholic school situation, where kids from a school were waiting for a bus, being ridiculed by black Israelites for simply existing.
You ever seen a Mexican, a Hispanic, a Native American, or a Negro shoot up a school?
Yeah, crickets. 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 Crickets.
Bunch of future school shooters.
That's right.
Yeah, now you gotta run with that one.
Look at their ass. They ass scattered off of that one. They ass scattered off of that one.
Yeah, they look like they're about to shoot
Look
up
at their
a
ass,
school right
Israel.
now.
They ass gone off of that.
Fact, there's one
Look at
of
that
them
mob of
ones.
these dirty animals.
That's
They
right.
gone.
That's how you dismiss them.
That's right.
The truth gonna be told, whether y'all wanna hear it or not. That's
And then Nathan Phillips goes up to Nick Sandmann, pounding his drum. Nick Sandmann just stands there smiling. Because he wore a MAGA hat, he was immediately the one in the wrong and was called racist, leading to threats and doxes from celebrities and blue checkmarks like Kathy Griffin. Some also justify the doxing because it happened to Christine Blasey Ford too. Not even 2 weeks later, Jussie Smollett fakes a hate crime and everyone again immediately blames Trump for this. The same blue checkmarks were in complete distraught because this is still happening in 2019. Ellen Page even cried that Mike Pence was to blame for all this.
If you are in a position of power and you hate people and you want to cause suffering to them, you go through the trouble, you spend your career trying to cause suffering. What do you think is going to happen? Kids are going to be abused.
Moving on to February, there's an abortion bill that made both liberals and conservatives lose their mind. Only this wouldn't be heard from after a week because photos of Virginia Governor Ralph Northam in blackface were resurfaced. This would also stop being talked about relatively quickly and not mentioned again. Whether because he was a Democrat or whatever, it seemed odd that racism would be a way to distract from the abortion bill. In March, it was also decided that Will Smith was not black enough. The infamous Christchurch shooting happened in March in New Zealand. To sum it up, Trump was blamed for what an Australian did in New Zealand. I want to start by saying I hate and condemn any acts of white nationalism, white supremacy, and murders against people because of their race, religion, whatever. They're scumbags of this world. Yes, this was a horrific tragedy for Muslims. Unfortunately, reactionaries shifted the blame to Donald Trump, PewDiePie, and Candace Owens. PewDiePie was blamed all because of the shooter saying subscribe to PewDiePie. That was it. Aside from the fact that the phrase has nothing to do with PewDiePie other than the name, the shooter could have cited any other meme, like weird flex but okay. And of course, the right didn't do anything to help their cause either, since they mentioned around 120 Christians being killed in the time span of a few weeks. It would only make sense that 50 Muslims being killed in one sitting would be given international attention. This isn't to dismiss the 120 Christians, I'm only trying to put it into perspective. However, in April, there were 300 plus Christians killed in Sri Lanka. This helped their case, but it was only given one day of media coverage, and that's mainly because the Christians were unisonly called Easter worshippers. Meanwhile, the synagogue shooting in California that killed one person was talked about for weeks because of anti-Semitism, and that was less than a week later. Also in April, the Notre Dame Cathedral was burned and edgelord wannabe nihilists said, "Who cares? It's just a building." Donald Trump also tweeted a 9/11 video because Ilhan Omar, the second most beloved politician in US history, trivialized the act of terrorism by saying, "Some people did something." Maybe Trump should have said that about Charlottesville. And then Trump tweeted, "Presidential harassment." Omar quote tweeted him by sounding like a cartoon or Kimmy Gibbler, either of whose stomachs were full, saying, "No thanks, I just went through one." Of course, ignoring the media being on your side exclusively, Ilhan. Then in May there was the milkshaking of Sargon of Akkad, who was running for the United Kingdom Independence Party, or UKIP. This was justified because it's not like it was Christchurch. Not even 2 weeks later, Kyle Khrushchev was rejected from Harvard because of racist comments he made when he was 16, over a year before he was a Parkland survivor. One of his tweets included the fact that Harvard had a history of accepting racists. The same people who justified Sargon's milkshaking because it's not like it was Christchurch were saying Kyle was only making excuses. Major cognitive dissonance. Toward the end of May, there was the whole Carlos Maza and Steven Crowder feud. Crowder uploaded a few videos making fun of Maza's arguments and included comments that Maza used against himself. In fact, they're in his bio. Those on the left who exclusively criticize when conservatives use identity politics were on Maza's side just because he's gay and Hispanic. But regardless of your stance on this issue, Maza changed YouTube for the worse because people are now being falsely terminated, the most recent example being Drunken Uncle. There was also the shooting in Colorado by a transgender teenager and Obama supporter that you never heard from again, almost definitely because of the trans part. A deleted scene from Captain Marvel was also released and it was just pure garbage. Virtuous garbage. And then feminists defended almost exclusively because conservatives were just being pansies because this isn't real life and that characters don't mean anything, despite the fact that they were the same ones who hyped up Black Panther and Captain Marvel just because they were black and female. Pride Month and straight pride in June as usual. I won't get into all that or my irritation towards straight pride. Ugh. It was announced in July that live-action Ariel would be portrayed by a black girl, which a lot of left-wing outraged salivists were making fun of conservatives who didn't even cry about it. They dropped the Flint though, Kids in Cages though, and human rights though. It's funny because these same people were complaining that Will Smith was not black enough to play a role, or Scarlett Johansson not being transgender enough, or transgender at all, to portray a transgender character. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called detention centers concentration camps, and everybody believed her just because it's her, the most beloved politician in US history. Already ignoring that she'd rather be morally correct than factually correct. There was no mention of Obama ever, by the way, and the photos that were shown to the public last year were from 2014. Trump also tweeted one of his most out-of-context tweets where he, quote-unquote, told the squad to go back to their country, which he didn't. This, of course, was also followed by Trump inciting hate. Andy Ngo was physically assaulted by Antifa. First off, I'm no fan of Andy Ngo. I don't take him seriously as a journalist or as a person. He should not have been attacked. The El Paso shooting at Walmart led to continuous blame on Trump, all because the shooter named him in his maintenance manifesto. Happy Berkeley. As expected, the media left out the fact that he also wrote he felt this way before Trump even ran for president, along with leaving out the attempted ICE bombing from the previous month and the socialist shooter from 2017 who supported Sanders, the most beloved candidate in U.S. history. The ICE bombing would be justified anyway. The Andy Ngo incident was also justified after this. The Dayton shooting took place not even 24 hours later, yet it was never talked about anymore, most likely because it was from an Antifa member who supported Elizabeth Warren. Also, Jeffrey Epstein died, and I'm not sad.
Yet you all come to
In
us young
September,
people
Greta Thunberg
for
gave a
hope.
speech, and the infamous
How
"How dare
dare
you"
you?
line was memed to death.
You have stolen
She also
my
complained
dreams,
about her
my
childhood being stolen,
with your
not
empty
insulting at all
words.
to child soldiers,
Yet,
child
I'm one of the
slaves,
lucky
or
ones.
girls who have no right to an education in
People
other
are
countries.
suffering. People are dying.
Prime Minister Trudeau wore blackface in photos from 2001, which resurfaced this September. Interestingly enough, Obama seemed to support him more than he supports his former Vice President Joe Biden now. The next month, Trudeau wins re-election. Disappointed but not too surprised. I was expecting the blackface scandal to have at least some sort of political consequence, but just like Ralph Northam, it had already been forgotten about. The ICE University scandal made news this year despite being built and set up in 2015 under the Obama administration. And now we're in December. Greta Thunberg was named Person of the Year on Time magazine. I guess a privileged white girl being named as opposed to the Hong Kong protesters or the Muslims in China really says a lot about the party that perpetuates the white privilege myth. Time magazine was pretty much perpetuating social justice. And since the Person of the Year for 2020 is obviously going to be whomever wins the election, since that's typically the case, I await what social justice train they hop on in 2021 and 2022. Trump was technically impeached, yet not voted on by the Senate. What crime did he commit that was never answered? Imagine if the left cared as much about impeachment like they pretend to care about Flint and all those other issues listed earlier. I guess hurting people's feelings really is a crime, which, by the way, it's funny how little self-awareness there was on the left since they threw tantrums after Boris Johnson won the election and J.K. Rowling saying sex is real not even a week after Trump tweeted to Greta. Who knows, maybe they'll use the Christchurch card again. If you have questions, comments, complaints, conspiracy theories, other people who should have been on Time magazine, you can email me or message me on Twitter. Also, Merry Christmas again, and Happy New Year. And happy 2020, 2021, and 2022 to those who say Happy New Year's instead of Happy New Year.
Thus saith the Lord. You don't shoot blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and nobody on the face of the earth shooting up schools, shooting up churches, shooting up synagogues.
That's right.
But you got a problem with us?
That's right.
You want to build a wall?
That's right.
Nigga, build a wall in front of Europe.
That's right.
Build a wall in front of Europe.
That's right.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have nonsensical bullshit like this to clean up.
Subdivided into 10. Do the math.
I guess I need to check my logic.
Uh-huh.
Oh, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Sorry, that was the closing theme song to
No,
Check
it
Your
was.
Logic.
Yeah, I was gonna say